Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the PHNX Rising Show, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. I'm Ramon Chavez. We got Max Simpson in the house, and all the way from Monterey Bay, chilly Monterey Bay, I should say, is Owen Evans. How you guys doing today?
Yeah, we got that breeze coming in. It's
Nice.
definitely not, Wild Horse Pass. Let's put it that way.
Oh, nice. I was gonna say that might have been me, dude. I was trying to use this fan to calm me down because what a match, dude. I'm trying to catch my breath after that one. Oh boy.
Yeah, definitely a wild and fun match. Something that, I kind of like the change of pace from, Rising losing 3-0, 2-0 as they have lately. 3-3, the final score. Rising and Monterey get their first penalties of the season, which was insane. And ultimately Rising and Monterey Bay walk away with a point. Before we throw it over to Juan Guerra, who Owen was able to speak to, let's get your thoughts on it, guys, really quickly. Owen, you were there. You got to experience this game. I was on Twitter, man. I was going crazy, especially after that Greg Hurst goal. But how did you see things over there in Cardinal Stadium?
Oh, it was an interesting one. Worth noting that perhaps in a way that I've not been used to seeing at this level, actually, the home crowd here got on their own players' backs quite a bit at times, especially towards the end of the game, especially after that missed penalty. It's from Rising's perspective, look, the first half was sloppy, just simply wasn't good enough. They gave away far too many opportunities to Monterey Bay, and at the other end of the field, were ultimately bailed out by two poor challenges that resulted in penalties, and that kept them in the game. Look, Greg Hurst comes on. I think his goal was overall a fantastic move. To me, I mean, we'll move on to, I'm sure, our views on what this means for next week later on. But to me, I think he's staking a claim for trying to crack that 11 again. At least, at this point, you need anybody that's on form that you can get, really. But yeah, it's second half. Even look, they didn't concede any in the second half, but it felt like they should have a few times as well. So I'm not even going to necessarily let Rising off the hook in that one.
Max, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we're not neutrals, but from a neutrals perspective, awesome match. Back and forth, start to finish, of maybe a slight lull in the middle of the second half, and that's if we're nitpicking. It was end-to-end stuff. I think for Monterey, they seemed like the dominant team throughout. I mean, they had a lot of chances that I don't even want to say missed, but never really got developed in the final third just because they couldn't get the ball off their feet. Really nice play, couple, bit of last-ditch effort from the defense, from Lund, and just like some stuff to really keep Rising in the game. And from Rising, I think they were sloppy at times, but really I think the difference for them is they just had 2 or 3 moments of individual brilliance that made the difference to them in that game, drew the PKs, Hurst with the goal. And I think that what comes down to is, even though Monterey to me was the far dominant team, it came down to those moments, and that's what kept Rising in it.
Yeah. A wild game. It was a fun game, like Max is saying. It was entertaining. That's what you want in the middle of the week, especially, because some of the games that happen midweek are typically not as fun as these ones. Owen got a chance to catch up with head coach Juan Guerra after the game. Let's hear his thoughts on tonight's game.
Listen, when you come on the road and you concede 3 goals, it's tough. You shouldn't go on the road and having to score 4 goals to win. Again, I see moments. I see moments of things that we do well, and when those moments come and we sustain them, good things happen. But I also see moments where we don't do things well, and we don't do them well at all, and they get us in trouble. So again, a lot to improve, a lot more to keep working on. But I definitely see things that we can keep building on.
And where do you think in the first half things were going wrong then defensively?
Well, yeah, not so much defensively. Is that we were creating too many transition moments, Owen, for a team that lives out of transition moments. At times we're connecting the ball, we create spaces, and we go, and we hurt them. But at times we're too eager to go forward right away, and we give the ball away easily. So it's non-forced turnovers. I can understand if you're going to go in a 1v1 versus someone and you lose the battle. That's understandable. But sometimes when you're trying to connect passes and you miss a pass and you give it to the opposition and then they drive at you, that's problems. Again, another set-piece goal that we could have avoided. I know it was a second moment, but still, on the road, we have to make sure that we're more solid. We can't keep, like I said today, we shouldn't have to score 4 goals tonight to win. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. We got to move forward. I'll hold on to the good moments, and I'll keep trying to build on them, and I'll make sure that we get better at the things that we have to improve.
Yeah, I think Juan Guerra is absolutely right. Those transition moments is what really hurt Rising, especially at the beginning of the game. And we've seen this before. Rising take a little while to kind of warm up and get into their groove, and sometimes, and you know, with facing a team like Monterey Bay, you cannot afford to do that, especially with those unforced turnovers and losing the ball in the midfield. So, Max, what were your thoughts on Guerra's comments?
I mean, accurate, and I think at this point, I pride him on taking like a very positive approach to everything. We understand that's what he's been about, but it's got to be a bit frustrating. Like you're saying the same message of what, you know, being on the counters. We're lost in transition. You play a very high line against a team that, again, like the last 2 opponents, they like to play on the counter, and even more so, they're, like we said yesterday, they're even more positive attacking. They don't take negative touches, and they will punish you. And I think to see that exploited so ruthlessly in the first half and even into the second half pretty early on without really any major adjustments, I'd have to be frustrated if I was him. I get the result was good, but yeah, that's definitely something that it's just been a trend now. Once is a whoops, 2 is a coincidence, and 3 is definitely a trend.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of follow up on that with the positive messaging, look, it's something that I think is, quite frankly, unfortunately necessary at this point. Even Rick noticed that by the end of his tenure, that they had to focus on the positivity because the players are playing with their confidence in the mud, and you can't just turn things around by not, you know, trying to let them build up a little bit of positivity to get themselves going. The problem is now is that especially with the draw today now, it means that if this team wants anything, they have to win every game. There is no, you know, and that's very unlikely to happen. So,
yeah.
Look, as a team, they want to end this season on a high note. You've got some winnable games at the end of the year. Those 2 reserve teams that you're playing at home. You've got RGV away. I'll have to see how that goes. Sacramento will be a tougher game, I think, on the road. But as a whole, yeah, and it's tough. It's tough. I think that it's something that we see a lot in these games is that there's moments where it's not necessarily about ability. It's about the speed at which they're thinking at the moment and the way they're overthinking. These players are capable of doing a lot better than they currently are, but it's just as though for whatever reason they can't quite pick out the right passes. They can't quite see those gaps in the defense when they get into the final third and work out what they're supposed to do there. They're not penetrating at times, at the right moments, off the ball, and it's creating a lot of problems in that sense. Again, I feel as though Rising were kept in this game today by those 2 penalties, which, I mean, let's be perfectly honest, Malik Badawi and pointing to the spot has created more for Phoenix Rising in the attack than Phoenix Rising has this month. Let's be perfectly honest.
And I mean, I think, like, to your point, you can kind of encapsulate the 2 seasons and how these teams have played by watching how they attack offensively. Monterey moves as a team. They're all, by the time one pass is going, the next 2 runners are already making the run, and it's 2-3 steps ahead. With Rising, it's a lot of ball watching. It's a lot of waiting for the individual to make a move, beat a man, and then react. Rising is very reactive. Monterey and a lot of their opponents recently have been very proactive. That's, to me, what it's been breaking down to over this last stretch.
You know what? I'm going to hop on one thing in the chat here, and I'm going to probably argue with you, Ramon, on this one, because I know you had some thoughts on those goals in the first half. But let's look at what D. Gully had to say here about King getting caught out twice on Monterey Bay's first 2 goals. To me, that's a bit unfair, singling him out when I feel as though there were much broader issues in that defense. Actually, if I had to pin the first goal on anyone, I'd pin it on Hayden Sargis. I feel as though he was the guy really who lost his man there. The second goal, look, how is he supposed to cover two guys? Darnell is out there trying to cover two guys while the center backs are just standing around, like looking like they're standing around having a chat in a group in another area of the field. There's very little help for him there. I feel as though bashing Darnell is the fashionable thing to do, but it doesn't mean that every goal that comes down the right-hand side is on him. Sometimes that's the nature of the tactics. He's going to be further up the field. That's just how it is. And that's the risk that you play when you play a fullback that far up the field. And other times it can be because when you've got, not only is he up the field, but you've got three centre-backs there, you need a bit more help from them, a little bit wider spaces sometimes they're coming out into. And we didn't always see that. We saw it at times during the game, but at other times they were just a little bit laggardly, especially when they, gave up the ball, created those quick transition moments for Monterey Bay. They just weren't quite switched on each time.
Yeah, I don't think all the goals are, Darnell King's fault whatsoever. I think the second one, that's the one that was specifically mentioning on Twitter. I felt, well, first of all, Sarhis gives, a poor pass to Seijas, who's not able to control it, which leads to a turnover. And that's when King needs to make a decision, whether I step up and either I foul the guy or I make sure I'm super aggressive and try to take away the ball, or I sit back and let, Monterey do their thing, see if the midfielders can kind of catch up. But what happened was that King pushed up to the midfield. Robinson was able to create kind of like a third man run, and it just left a huge gap. And I understand, that's when Sarhis maybe has to step up, or another one's of the center backs. But yeah, I think that goal specific, I feel like King maybe should have done it better. But I think overall, just as a defense, like they just need to work better, and the midfield needs to control the ball. And ultimately, that's basically what's been going on all season. The defense is not able to play up to their potential, and the midfield is not there to help. So that's what happens. Let's take a look at the numbers really quickly behind the numbers, see how both teams ended up here. Rising with a lot of the possession. I heard on the broadcast they ended up with around 70% of the possession in the second half. So you can see it here in the numbers. 3 goals to each team, 41% possession for Monterey, 59 for Rising, 19 shots for Monterey, 7 for Rising, 9 shots on target for Monterey, and Phoenix Rising ends up with 3. So, and Max, what do you make of these numbers? A lot better from the last outing. I think, Guerra's system, the players are acclimating to it a little bit more. You can see it on the field, like you mentioned in the post-game press conference. There's moments where you can see the team, working together and gelling to the system. So what are your thoughts after seeing these?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that, like, to your point, the passing definitely a bit more methodical, a bit more forward thinking, nothing too much deviating from the last couple of matches, but I think there were some turnovers, but they weren't as sloppy as in prior matches. Now, if I'm splitting hairs, I think the possession stats are kind of a bit skewed and they don't always tell the full picture. Like, for example, Rising dominated the possession, but it was also because that's just kind of the style Monterey was playing. They're not really looking to ping it around and play possession. They're looking to attack rather quickly. And again, if they're going to lose the ball, they're just going to press and make something happen. On that goal, the first goal that Rising gave up, that was from the start. The keeper started off, and that was in the back of the net in 4 passes and with 7 combined touches. And that just shows that I don't think possession always tells the full story. And that, 19 shots on target. I think that was the bigger picture, is that it was always a threatening for Monterey. Yeah, Rising had 3 shots on target and 3 resulting goals. But when, 2 are pens, it's just, it was very much 2 imbalances. One team on offense who very much has a mindset, knows what they're doing. And the other, I think they're just searching for answers still. That to me is the biggest difference.
And I'll agree with you there, Max, actually. And this was something that Juan actually told us about yesterday that he was expecting, which is that he knows that Frank Yallop's sides do like to sit back, to let you control the ball. And it's a game, when you get into that, it's a game for flair, for creativity. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunately where Rising is struggling right now. When they get into the final third, they don't have that instinctive idea that's going to get them to break through the defense. And a lot of that is confidence. So look, I've got the expected goals figures up here now. And the fact that Monterey Bay had a higher XG, according to Opta now, than Phoenix Rising did after 2 penalties, knowing penalties carry a huge XG figure. Okay. The actual XG here was 2.72 for Monterey Bay, 2.44 for Phoenix Rising. It tells you something. Look, I feel as though Monterey Bay probably should have had more goals in that game.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about a highlight of today's game, which I think is Greg Hurst. I've been a big Greg Hurst fan the entire season. He started off great in the first few months, but lost his spot a little bit in that middle of the season. But came in tonight. Second half was a spark off the bench and was able to get on the board with, I on Twitter, I was going off, man. I know I didn't curse. I know everyone was roasting me for that, but it was great. It was great to see him connect with the midfield, make that run, and ultimately get that goal. So Greg Hurst is actually our DraftKings king of the game for tonight. So shout out to Greg Hurst. He had that one goal in the second half, played 23 minutes, had 10 touches on the ball. Yeah, I think he's great. I really like to see him return next year. I don't think he's been given a fair shake. But what did you guys think of Greg Hurst's performance tonight?
Well, he came off the bench, asked to find the goal, and he found a goal. Let's be perfectly honest. Ball slipped through. He broke through quite a few of them there. Sorry if there's a bit of noise here. I feel like there's a guy going around blowing some stuff. But his finish, I think, look, maybe the keeper should have done better with it, but it's still a good finish. I like the whole move. Quite frankly, I would seriously consider looking at maybe starting him ahead of JJ Williams next week on Wednesday when they come up against Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite an efficient night. Like you said, 23 minutes, 10 touches. One of those was a goal, and half those touches were pretty much on the goal. I mean, I don't think that was the only thing. Like, I liked his positioning. I liked how he was able to track back, and he held the ball up a bit at times, was able to play off each other. The thing that we all said was that even when he got dropped in the lineup, it wasn't really because of poor performance. It's just that JJ Williams came on, had a bit of a burst, offered a bit more of an attacking threat in those areas. But we thought that whether it was going to be in a starting position or coming off the bench, we saw a lot of value in Hurst. And I think he brought it tonight. And I mean, to me, you have two forwards who they're very different in what they do. I think both can find the net, but in different ways. Hurst is very much a hold up play. Let's link it up and let's try to get others involved, keep possession going, which against a fast paced team like Monterey, trying to break them down was a perfect matchup. Whereas JJ is, if you need to play against a team with a high line, lump the ball over the top and stretch it vertically, get some headers in the mix as well. That's your guy. So I think really it's a nice situation for the team to be in where you have those two different forwards. It's just the issue of find which one to use in this situation.
Let's take a look at the comment here by D Goalie. He says, why was JJ so starved of service? Passing or his positioning? Was it both? That's something that I mentioned in the first half. It's just, I completely forgot he was even in the game. And that's not his fault. I think that's the service from the midfield and the wingers.
Yeah.
But I think that part of that as well is the fact that he is a player who will get involved in play further back on the pitch. And look, that can be good at times. He's now blocking passing lanes. He's, ultimately putting pressure on them further back. But at the end of the day, you're a centre forward. You do also need to be causing some problems up top, especially when this team is so lacking at times in creativity. You have to be there and be creating those chances, which is something he hasn't been doing. Look, I was intrigued here, actually. The one comment in there, here's 2 chances, 2 goals. I tell you what, I will be completely honest. I was watching the warm-ups, and Greg could not find the target any way. Everything was going wide, or if it was on target, Lalo Delgado was making the saves during warm-ups, and I was looking and thinking, oh, God, if he comes on, what's he going to do? Whereas JJ managed to score a couple, and you think, okay, but hey,
yeah,
maybe it goes to show why we don't pay that much attention to warm-ups and training, eh?
Yeah, you never know.
You got to get the bad ones out of the way. That's just my rule for Sunday league pickup.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right, y'all, let's take a quick break and talk about our sponsors at DraftKings. They have this great promotion for new customers right now where you can just bet just $5 on any NFL team to win, and you can get $200 in free bets if they do win. And if that's not enough for you guys, they actually have another one where everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped up same game parlay. So right now, for every leg that you add, you can boost your winnings to 100%. with payouts bigger than ever. Why bet on football anywhere else? You got to do it with DraftKings Sportsbook. And to make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped up same game parlays once per game day all season long. So it's super simple, guys. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code PHNX. That's promo code PHNX on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Make sure to check out the show notes for more details. I was looking at the scores for tonight, Owen, and Hartford.
Oh, we told people to smash that Hartford one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no. That's what Loudon decided to do. They decided to absolutely smash Hartford. 3-0 scoreline there. You know what, though? Before we move on, actually, a little bit, and yeah, don't pay attention to my betting advice. There was one more thing I think on Greg Hurst we should touch on. I did actually manage to speak to him after the game about what it means to finally find himself on the score sheet after quite a lengthy spell without a goal. So let's go and have a listen to what Greg had to say.
It always feels good to score. You know, when you're 3-2 down and you get a goal late on, usually it takes the momentum your way. And I thought we were unlucky. We kind of kept on pushing to try and get a winner, and that's just the way it's been going this season, unfortunately. It's obviously devastating not to get the 3 points.
Yeah, that was Greg Hurst. Yeah, I love the way he plays. You know, and I felt bad the fact that, you know, I think this team just maybe, you know, when you're a striker, you can only do so much. I feel, you know, we've seen it with Repetto, we've seen it with Hurst. Repetto's no longer here, but it just creates these, you know, situations where you'll go through a long spell without scoring, and it has to be frustrating as a striker. So I'm glad he got, you know, to score tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last thing that we've all touched upon a bit is, to your point and to what we know, is as a number 9, as a forward, you are measured, for better or worse, on the goals you scored. You can have a horrible game, but if you bag a goal or two, you're fine. If you have a wonderful game, but you don't score any, you know, it doesn't really matter. And for both these guys, it's been a bit of lack of consistency. But I think it really, like I said, I think it's really matchup specific in who you want to go with when you're starting. But if I am going to pick someone who is going to dictate all the aspects other than scoring, Hurst has been that guy with his off-ball pressure and really just how he links up play. I think if you are going to have to pick one who is more deserving of it, it's got to be him.
We have a question in the chat here from Thomas. Don't want to be an energy vampire, but can you touch on the Santi Moar performance? And I know,
all
Owen,
right, it's energy vampire time.
All right.
That's what it is. All right, Owen, what are your thoughts, man? I'm kind of feeling a little down on Santi's performance the last few games.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably feel down on Santi's performance all season. He's struggled a lot, and again, it's the one when you're attacking player is that so much of it relies on confidence. So much of it relies on seeing the ball hit the back of the net. It's over a year, did you know, since Santi Moar scored at home. The last league goal that he scored at Wild Horse Pass was on my birthday last year against Orange County. So September 18, 2021 is the last home goal that he scored in the league. So it's... I don't know. It's just, again, it's that lacking of, he's second guessing everything. And when you're an attacking player, you don't have time to second guess anything, because as soon as you've done that, the defense is adjusted and you've just got nothing to work with.
And he had that opportunity tonight. He just missed the goal as well.
Yeah. And one of them goes in, you just start to wonder, does it start to turn around? But then we thought that about earlier in the season when he did, and it hit that point whereby everything, as Scott is kind of saying here, it's all quite predictable, and it's because I think he's just not taking on some of the more daring things that we saw Santi Moar do in the past. You know, there were goals he scored when it was, you looked at the goal and say, you don't take that on if you haven't scored in your last 3 games. Mm-hmm. But you take it on because you have. And he's just not got that confidence whatsoever. Why do they keep playing him? I mean, it's a question. I wonder whether there are other options available. I mean, I'm sure we can talk about this next week. It's just not coming together, is it? And at this point in the season, the the long-term plan is ultimately almost has to be put aside. You have to rely on who's going to get the job done right now, and that's the problem. That's the problem.
Max, quick on your thoughts. Well, Santi Moar, bench him, give maybe Greg Hurst a shot to play with JJ Williams up top. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about the double striker system before. Definitely something doesn't hurt. Like, why not give it a go? I mean, I'll say this on Santi. If someone who in his position who has not been, again, kind of like forward, if he hasn't been scoring for that long, then the assumption is you're playing him for his off ball work, and his pressing is good. His defensive work isn't bad, but I don't think it's enough to warrant the start. And I'm almost curious if it's kind of a case of I'm not saying this is right, and I'm not saying this is the case, but maybe it's, hey, you've built up a lot of goodwill over the last couple of seasons. We know the player you can be. We want to keep playing you, find that form, and we figure it's going to come back. And that's maybe a way to take the pressure off him or unburden him. I almost think the opposite of he's been starting match after match for so long without anything going his way. Like, bench him. I mean, not for the sake of, hey, like, we're not playing you this next game, but more so take the pressure off. Don't let him start. Bring him on for a 20, 30-minute cameo and see if that's a way to get him going, because the start after start where you don't hear his name called for 30 minutes, and like maybe he has a chance or two a game, but you don't have any confidence that he's going to score. Like, take the pressure off him, let him come off in relief and see if that helps.
Just want to touch on what the chat is saying right now. If you put Hurst in really quickly in that Santi Moar spot, Santi's not really playing on the wing. Babu's taking all that space. He's tucking in a little bit more. So I don't see JJ and Hurst kind of, running into each other, I guess, in on top of the box. So I could see that happening. But we'll see. We'll see if Guerra's a fan of that. I'm not sure if he wants to, but yes, someone.
Well, two things to note here. Number one, on the positioning, we should be clear here. Greg Hurst is the only center forward for Phoenix Rising to score in the Juan Guerra era. The last goal for JJ Williams came back in the Orange County game. So that was Rick's final game in charge. You look at the goals that have been scored since then. Ryan Flood, Luis Sejas with 2, Aodhan Quinn with the 2 penalties, and then Greg. So Greg's actually the only attacking player to score since Juan's come in. The other thing to note here, and I saw it in the chat here, of course, Pat Moses saying transfer him before Friday to get out of that contract. Yeah, of course, the roster freeze is on Friday, 10 a.m. Arizona time. We'll speak a little bit more in a sec about that after I made this point. But look, how are you? We know he's on a big money deal for this league, at least. The idea that people will just come and take him on that money is, I don't know if they will. I really don't know if they will.
Yeah, especially the way he's playing this season. And, it's tough, especially when you pay someone that much money. It's tough to move those contracts in USL. All right, y'all. No game this weekend. So you guys got any plans?
But we do have the roster freeze on Friday. So chat, what do we think? Do we send Ramon to stand outside the stadium?
No,
I think we should. I think you should stand outside the stadium and watch who's coming in, who's going out, get us to leave a few times, do some OGs. Yeah, that's it. We'll do transfer deadline day special. Ramon just standing outside the stadium on OGs, like pointing at cars. We'll do that.
No. Let's not do that. I think what we should do, we should actually go to Four Peaks in Tempe. That's
question here. Sorry, Michael van der Plas. Quick question. Mike said Claudia has to make 5 appearances. My understanding is no. That's a loan.
That's on loan
signing rule. Not all players, loan signings. Now, of course, worth caveating as always. Guess who doesn't publish their rules of competition? It's the USL Championship. So that's the caveat to this, is that playoff eligibility, by my understanding on there, is based for loan signings, not for everybody. But I'll tell you what, If you want, talk for a minute, Ramon. I'm going to try and find
Don't
it.
pull it up. I want to talk about
I'll
4
pull
peaks.
it
That's
up.
what I'm trying to talk
You
about.
got to talk about some 4 peaks, and I'm going to get you an answer.
ASU's playing this weekend at home, so 4 Peaks is going to be doing a tailgate. So I want you guys to go check them out over there. It's going to be the official PHNX tailgate, the best tailgate in the Valley. So we're selling $50 tickets, and that ticket, man, it's such a great deal. I'm going to tell you all about it right now because you get 2 beers and all you can eat buffet and a ride to the game. But the buffet, man, look at what they have. They have chicken wings, nachos, pizza, barbecue grilled chicken sandwiches, pulled pork, cheesecake, donut holes, all this great stuff just by purchasing one of those tickets. And you get to hang out with the PHNX Sun Devil crew. Lots of fun on a Saturday. Again, Rising's not playing, so I want you guys to check this out. And we know Max is gonna be there, so whenever Max is there, it's always a party. I've seen the pictures, I've seen the video, so you guys gotta check it out. And also, the first 15 people that sign up will receive a ticket to the game and a PHNX membership. And so make sure to grab your tickets as soon as possible. That's $150 value for only $50. And again, it's going to be at 4 Peaks. It's going to be a great time, great beer, great times. And of course, Max is going to be there. He said, he promised me. So
do we need the rule?
I was going to say, well,
you have your fun a minute.
Any other time I would be. I'm actually going to be in Tahoe, and I did. I have said that.
Max,
but
you let me talk for 30 minutes.
Whoa! That means that you guys have to have a beer and some 4 Peaks food for me. How about that?
There you go.
I did see RD asking in the chat whose form is worse, ASU or Rising.
Oof.
Tough toss up. I will say, I'll say this about ASU and a pitch to go to that game. We were all very refreshed when Rick was out and Juan came in, and it was a breath of fresh air, regardless of how that first result went. ASU's in the same spot. Herm's out. We got an interim in there. Give it a go.
It's going to be a fun time. So, yeah, make sure to check the link in our show notes to sign up and purchase your tickets. And remember, you must be 21 years or older, and remember to enjoy responsibly. Owen, what did you find out?
All right. So, this one, I'm going to read it directly from the media guide.
There we go.
Playoff eligibility. Any field player on loan from another team, including an intra-league loan, must play a minimum of 5 regular season games to be eligible to play in the playoffs. One of these games was declared prior to the roster freeze date. However, players signed to 25-day contracts are not eligible for the playoffs. So, here's what we know then. There's nothing on there about if he's signed permanently for them, unless he's only on a 25-day contract. It's not a loan. Even if it was, the 5-game rule wouldn't apply because there is no way for him to play for them prior to the roster freeze, which is on Friday. They don't have a game before then. And that's where it is. So there's the other thing to note here for any Rising fans watching. Juan wouldn't tell me today whether they were planning on making any more moves before the roster freeze or not. He said he'd prefer to focus on what happened tonight and the here and now rather than what they're working on for the next couple of days. But if a loan signing comes in, look, if Rising do the unthinkable, they're not playoff eligible.
So literally,
the
unthinkable. Only 4 games left. Yeah, for sure. All right, y'all. So yeah, no game this weekend. Rising will travel to Sacramento next week, and we all know how much Owen loves Sacramento. He was there for the U.S. Open Cup. So he's gonna. I'm not sure if you're going yet, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. So 4 games left, guys. We all know kind of the playoffs are not. I know mathematically they're still able to make the playoffs, but what's the thing that you look for in these last 4 games? I keep seeing these comments are like, hey, these 3, 4, 5 guys, they stay, the rest go. Is that what we're doing right now? Just evaluating the talent that's on the team and seeing where we go next year?
Kind of. Again, things aren't as simple as people would like them to be. You can't just decide that people under contract, you owe nothing to them, they can just go. That's not something that you can do. And I will say, though, that it feels as though, from what I'm hearing, that there is a worry about certain players, even those who are under contract, as to what's going to happen next year. As Edward comes into the chat, suggest.
I love that guy.
I've heard of that guy. Yeah, I love him.
What a great legend. Go, oh man, and win all the games, man. He was what a clutch performer.
He was almost as good as Long Tan.
Don't you
The man,
don't you
the myth,
compare
the
anyone to
legend.
the great long 10.
Great long time.
Blasphemy.
I
All right, y'all.
feel like I'm gonna be excommunicated from the entire Rising circle for daring
Sounds
to
like a
compare
poster of them
anyone
and
to a
stuff.
long time.
Oh shoot, I forgot my ball. I just noticed that. Anyway, y'all, we got some great news from our friends at OGs. Max, you fill me in on a lot of this because I'm new to this new OG stuff. There we go. He's gonna pull it out.
Oh, I
But
got you,
our
fam.
friends,
So,
there you
bam. So a little OG's, little sleepy time edition. So, long story short, pretty much it's great for if you're trying to knock out, especially after that game, taking OGs, falling right to sleep a bit shortly after. I got roasted on this by you guys like 3 weeks ago for saying it, but I'm going to say it again. I'm not a doctor. But that being said, you take one of these and you're going to feel pretty damn good afterwards. They're also in a nice aquaberry flavor, which I've never even heard of that flavor before, but it sounds pretty nice. So OGs, their new sleep edition. Don't sleep on it. See what I did there?
And you too can feel like Rising's defense.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
you got that tagline now.
No, but get it at any of your local dispensaries, and like they still have all their great flavors. We love OGs. We appreciate them. And literally, actually, this is something I just realized. It's OGs, but you maybe can't see it, but it's with like 3 extra Z's in there. Wow, how clever.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. I'm gonna have to swing by the office and get a few because they look amazing. So I want to try them out because I like to relax, especially after these tough games. We finish up pretty late, trying to catch some Z's once in a while. So we'll get some from Owen for Owen as well. Oh, and what's going on over there? You got the gardening people?
Me, I guess. Like
Sounds like my apartment's in the morning because they'll be cleaning there. All right, y'all. It's been a great time here. Before we do wrap it up, I also do want to mention our friends at Game Time. If you guys haven't downloaded the app yet, you guys need to do so. And the reason is because Bad Bunny is coming into town next week. And also, there's only 2 games left in the Phoenix Rising season. So you guys can save with those tickets, save up to 60% if you use the Game Time app. So make sure to check them out. They're awesome. And if you love us here at PHNX, you'll love Game Time. And this is the best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link that's in our description. So if you want to buy some tickets to either Rising, games or concerts, events, all that's good stuff, make sure to click that link in the description. Use that link. It helps us out whenever you purchase tickets through there, and it helps pay the bills, man. And you get to go to a concert, save some money. Everybody gets a little something. So make sure to use Game Time and download the app whenever you can. All right, y'all. This about it for tonight. I was fun. That was fun. Honestly, it was a fun game. I'm glad it was entertaining. I know Rising only got 1 point, but it's still fun. It's still fun to see Rising like this actually get on the scoreboard for once and make it a good game.
Yeah, it's the first goals they've scored in September, so savor them.
Worried for a second, yeah.
Down match, boys.
He's going to bed. He's done.
Oh man!
Yeah, shout out to BJ here. We got what will be the off-season coverage? Good question. We'll let you know.
We're gonna work on that. We'll work on that.
We'll work on that. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Scott. We're not ignoring you, man. Come on, we love you guys here. Yeah, great stuff on the chat as always. Always love to have you here. Thank you for hanging out with us on a Wednesday night. We will be back tomorrow. We're gonna do another show. Make sure to tune in there, and then we won't see you until Tuesday. So make sure to hang out with us here. It's going to be a great fun ride until the end of the season. But that is it from us here at PHNX Rising. Owen, get home safe. Max, catch some Z's, man. That bed looks real comfy, man.
Tastes good too, man.
All right, y'all. We're going to call it a night. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Until next time. Take care.
Y'all.